Welcome back to the Dan Tonight Show. I'm here with Chace Levi, who is one of the busiest musicians I know. So for people that don't know you,
I am the bass player and singer in My Mistress. I am the acoustic guitar player in The Sharts, a folk death metal band. And I'm also the bass player in Velvet Koozie, a surf punk band. I'm also the recording engineer and producer for Secret Soup Records. And I'm also the owner of Chace Levi Worldwide. BMI told me what name to choose for my music publishing company.
Nice. So talk to me about My Mistress, because like how that band came to be and like the band name and all that.
I played on a whole bunch of local Austin bands. I played in the Hazard Hounds band I was a country band called the Discount Gentlemen, was one of my favorites. And then I played with the Screaming Sheilas, and that's where I met Jacques Bergeron, who is one of the sound engineers at Dozen Street, part of like the Dozen Street family. And after the Screaming Sheilas and the Hazard Hounds and the Discount Gentlemen all sort of broke up, I was fiending for another band, and I had all these songs that I've been writing that none of the other bands wanted to use. Right. So I started calling all my friends and being like, hey, I'm starting a band. And the only friend that was really interested was my friend from the Black Ladder, Ray Cardenas, who's the drummer in the Black Ladder. And he was like, I'm totally down for playing in a band with you. And he's like, I guess all you need is a guitar player. And I didn't know who to ask, so I asked Jacques to play, and he was too busy. He was playing in like 1,000 bands. And then I asked I asked Maydee at Dozen Street, the owner. I was like, do you know any blues guitar players? And she sent me a list, because that's kind of how Maydee rolls. Yeah. And on the top of the list was Jack Ettery. So we met at Dozen Street. Maydee opened up for us, made us some cocktails, and we sat on the back porch, and I played him horribly because I'm not a guitar player, I'm a bass player. I played him all the songs I wrote on an acoustic guitar, and he's like, I fucking love these. He brought his dobro, and we just chilled and played. And then he's like, so what's the name of the band? And I was trying to come up with something bluesy and cool. And I was like, all right, a band's name should be indicative of the kind of band that they're in. I was like, what kind of band is this? Well, it's a whole bunch of session players that play in 1,000 bands. Let's name it My Mistress. And then Jacques eventually joined the band after we recorded the first album. We realized we needed a second guitar player because there are all these rhythm parts. Jack left like 3 guitar parts on every song. So to recreate that live, we needed another guitar player, and we asked Jacques to play, but just it didn't work. Like both of their styles are so similar and different all at the same time. They share the same birthday. It's the same birthday as Robert Johnson. Oh, wow. Jacques is French for Jack, and it was Jack. It was just too much of the same thing. Yeah. So Jacques left and went to go play in another band, and we had one of Ray's friends sit in one day with us, a guy named Justin Williams, and he killed it. He's this 22-year-old guitar virtuoso. It's obscene how good he is. And asked him if he wanted to be in the band, kind of did, like through back channels. I made Ray go ask him because I was too shy to ask him myself. And he was like, I'd love to be in that band. And then it started the romance between Jack and Justin. They'll sit and geek out for hours about guitar tone and amplifiers and finger position.
You moved to Austin in 2012, playing in bands, you're a recording engineer. Talk to me a little bit like making it in Austin as a creative.
You have to be a jack of all trades. You really do. You have to have your finger in a little bit of everything, and then really grind. Find out where your scene is, and then participate in it. So I knew I was never going to get good quality jobs unless I started somewhere. And no one gives a shit in Austin that I'm from New York and what I've done in New York. Like it doesn't make any difference whatsoever in this town. Every town's unique. Right. So I was playing with the Hazard Hounds at Dozen Street. It was like our second performance there, and the sound engineer didn't show up. And my band knew that I was a sound engineer because I set up the PA for our rehearsal space and everything. So like, Chace could run sound, and I ran sound for the night. And then Maydee goes, well, that audio engineer that didn't show up is clearly fired. Do you want a job? And I think my starting salary was, the agreement that I had with Maydee was $50 and 2 tall boys a Lone Star, and I would do sound all night. Right. So that was where I started getting a pulse for like what bands were in Austin, because that's where most bands got their start. And then Eileen Bristol came in with EB and the Gang, and she's like, we've never sounded this good in this venue. Do you do sound anywhere else? And I was like, no, this is it, but I'm always looking to pick up another place. And Eileen's like, well, here, I'll throw you some hours. This is the rate. Come run sound. And I did sound for Crucial Prophet at Sahara Lounge. And they go, we love the way we've sounded in this room. We've never sounded so good. We have a show at Flamingo Cantina. Can you do sound for us? Right. And I met Angela over at Flamingo Cantina and became like their backup engineer when like Michael Hunter or somebody went on tour. Right. And then somebody from there recommended me to the people at Hanover's, and then I started running sound. And then I started getting to know all the places and started getting to know all the contacts. I mean, Austin is the slowest moving orgy in the world. So you could, if you know at least like 5 of the key people, you could get gigs anywhere else. And then soon the Hazard Hounds were playing. They had a residency down on 6th Street, and we were playing 3 nights a week. And then that's how you do it. And then came time to record. I got all this recording gear. Started recording us. Somebody asked who recorded us. I said us. And then they're like, well, can you record us? Right. And that was a whole bunch of us's, but it just went from there.
All right, thanks you so much, Chace. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with more Chace Levi after this short message. Austin Uncharted is a live studio performance series featuring Austin bands and musicians recorded and filmed at King Electric Recording Studio. Featuring artists like Trouble in the Streets, Aubrey Hayes, Lowen, Jake Lloyd, and so many more. Watch a session and check it out. New bands every 3 weeks, Thursday at midnight, and you can follow their page and be the first to see what's coming up next. Welcome back to the Dan Tonight Show. I'm here with Chace Levi, and we were just talking about, participating in the scene. A lot of times people take that as I need to go see shows, and that's not really participating in the scene.
I mean,
it's part of it, sure.
Yeah, it's like a tenth of it.
Right.
You got to share your friend's music.
Right.
You got to go.
You be a part of putting this stuff together, and that's like what you did with the sound stuff, and that's how you get involved in the real community aspect of the musicians and everything. So like,
I mean, Dave Grohl has a whole bunch of really great documentaries like Sound City and Sonic Highways, and there's an underlying theme in all of those. Like, there's a place, and there's musicians that hang out there, and they all kind of share and believe in the same thing. They dress not alike, but they have like an aesthetic. That's what a scene is. And if all your friends like the same music, and all your friends kind of dress the same as part of like what that scene is indicative of, find where those people go and hang out and listen to music. And if they're not listening to music, find new friends that are listening to music, and then go find out where they're hanging out. Right. And then if you enjoy that, like, I mean, everybody looks back at Austin in like the 60s and 70s with like this great nostalgic feeling. But then every generation afterwards always looks back, and I'm sure there are kids. I'm sure there are people that look back at the 80s and they're like, that was the scene, that was the best. And the people look back at the 90s and go, the 90s in Austin, there's nothing like that. There was this group here. If you're participating in that, you get the honor of saying that. You get to be like, oh, there was this great group of bands. Here's the list of them. We used to see them at this venue, and this venue. I can't believe this venue's still open. Like, but that's participating in it. Like, you're going out, you're telling other people about it. You're sharing their Instagram post, telling people like, hey man, you got to check out this new video that they made. I mean, a great example of it. There's a band called the Bullies. I'd never heard of them. I felt like I was missing the boat. Here I am thinking like I got a pulse on the market. Like, I know exactly all the right bands to see. And I'm at Sahara Lounge and I'm running sound, and the bartender Levi walks up to me and he's like, have you seen the Bullies before? And I was like, no. And I'm like, what are you saying? Why does everything in Austin have to have a stupid name? Sorry, the Bullies. I just didn't know what he was saying. The Bullies? And then I found out they're all family members, and they just put on a killer live show. And I posted an Instagram post of it. They had everybody in the bar on stage dancing and singing with them. Not like, hey, come up and stand on stage. They wouldn't continue until literally everybody in the bar, everybody smoking weed in the back, everybody drinking in the front, everybody was on stage. And then everybody got down and danced, except for me, because I was filming it and running sound. But Laura Mendoza from Chill Bill and Cosmic Chaos and co-owner of Secret Soup Records posts all the time, like, here's Pinky Toe, the new music video from the Bullies. And then Levi does the same thing. And all those people that I saw at that show, if I look at their Instagram feed, they're all sharing that thing. And the Bullies are great. And they're great. And grabbing everybody's attention because they're doing great things, and they're able to continue doing that because all their friends are enjoying it, and they're all participating in that scene.
And you probably get this feeling too. Like, I'm obsessed with Austin music, and then you get surprises like the Bullies, where they're like kind of an established band that you've never heard of.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I was like, am I doing all of this wrong? Where have I been?
Right. Yeah, that's
who are my friends that didn't tell me about this band yet?
But that's the beautiful thing about Austin, is that we get that. And what I really am interested in, if you have any ideas on this, please share. How do we make that less common for people like us that are obsessed? Not for the normal people. They should always be discovering new things. But like, how do we unsilo ourselves?
So, I mean, I've been following you on Instagram, and I'm watching you yell at the city council about what to do with all the money that we've gotten. And I was hoping that you had asked me about that, but instead you've done an eloquent job at segueing into it. Awesome Music Foundation does a really good job telling you need to go play shows, you need to build a website, you need to be able to have people be able to find you. I owned a previous record label early last year, and I would go and check out these bands, and they're like, you should sign this guy. And I would go, okay, I like listening to new music, let me go talk to this person. And you never know who you're going to meet. And then I meet somebody, and he's like, I can't understand why I'm not bigger than I am. And I go, okay, well, how can I find your music? Oh, I don't have anything recorded. And I'm like, you're a f***ing musician. That is like the only thing that you need to do is have music.
One job.
Like, literally, that is the one. And I feel bad in a lot of ways because the Awesome Music Foundation is stymied by having to keep telling people, like, you need music. You need a website so that people can find you. Like, they get stuck in doing that. I think what would be really good to do with all that money is help build a scene, help build a directory. Here are Austin bands. Here's a place where you could listen to all their music. It's broken down by genre. These are all the people that play in Austin. I mean, how great would it be I've booked shows before. The biggest pain in the ass is going back and being like, okay, who could play tonight? I started hashtagging on Instagram, y'all, hashtag YALL, so that I could go back. If I like a band that I've done sound for, I could go back in my Instagram feed and look at the hashtag and go, oh, these bands. But how great would it be as a promoter if everything was broken down by genre? I got 2 bands coming in, and I need to book this one.
Not to mention, with that, you end up with a spreadsheet. And spreadsheets are how normal people go through life and make business decisions and promote things. We complain all the time about promoters not doing the work, venues not doing the work. But the bands aren't providing them with the information that they need and the context that they would need to do anything with it. I think it's the hardest it's ever been in the music industry right now, because you have to be on 100% of the time. But at the same time, we've never had opportunity like this, to where, like, you've seen it, like when these bands go on the morning shows in Austin and sound like, because they're tired.
They also sound like because those morning shows won't let audio engineers, and I've seen this firsthand. Like, I've been one. I'm not going to say any TV shows in particular, but like, there was a band that went to go do a morning show, a friend of mine, let's just put it that way. And we asked them, we said, we have 4 different capable audio engineers. And they said, no, we have a professional audio engineer that's running it. Showed up, and it was their intern. And we said, this is the list of all the mics we need. This is the instrumentation. Here's a stage plot. Like, did our due diligence. And then showed up, and they had 1 microphone and an intern.
Yeah. And I push back on that, saying, what did you expect? This is low market local news. Show up with a set that can be played on 1 mic with an intern running sound. You know what I mean? Like, prepare yourself.
Oh, no.
That's one thing.
But to go back to where this started, like we're tired. No, and you got to treat this like a job. And if you treat it like a job, it will pay you like one. I worked all the way through college. My bachelor's and my master's degree my bachelor's was in studio composition, and my master's degree is in studio production. I spent the first 4 hours of the day going to college, and then I worked at a music store from 1 to 9 to go pay for college and get gear at a discounted rate. And then from 10 o'clock, so an hour gap for lunch and dinner, because, you boys got to eat. It was McDonald's and ramen. From 10 till 2 in the morning, I went and either played a gig every night, recorded, or wrote songs and worked with other musicians on something. And I did that back to back for 6 years. And it got me 7 Grammy nominations because I treated it like a job and I worked my ass off.
Man, and that's how you get stuff done. And that's the way it should be. Man, Chace, thank you so much for being on the show.
No, this was fun.
Be sure to check out My Mistress and all the other Chace Levi bands linked down below. We'll be right back after this message.